This is no innuendo of it all. Meaning this is not one a one-way understanding when it comes to violence, misuse, aggression. Professor Hardy says that rage is a precursor toward violence. Rage. Meaning someone is suffering in silence. For me, violence is the result of an unresolved status. You don't know who you are. You're more prone and more susceptible to participate in acts of violence. Status, and it's associated with status control. He or she who controls or establishes things out of necessity and in relationships, one with another. But even as it pertains to human relations, will determine the status of that relationship, meaning people will put status above humanity. And yes, human relations is the way we connect. Human relationships is the actual connection. So we have to deal with the two. We have to deal with environment, and that is in the culture in which one lives. And that which is contributed to the culture, and that which people become accustomed to. This misuse, aggression, this hostility, and it is a deal with environmental concerns or environmental influence. I think Dr. King says that violence is the language of the unheard. When you, once again, you suffer in silence, and when your demands are not being met, it terrifies you. Become a terror. You become very horrific. Yeah. And then you get what we call horror movies. And it can become very entertaining. And it becomes a very traumatic experience that that is in one's mind, and it would create a reaction. People are only responding due to the extent and the damage of the injury that has been done to his or her humanity. So the language of the unheard. So it is language. Language makes us who we are. Our inner conversations that we have with ourselves more than likely create our circumstances. So we must become masters of circumstances. But that which is happening among us, when we're talking about brothers killing brothers or sisters killing sisters, we're killing each other, we're killing each other's humanity. Fratricide society is criminogenic. Someone said, I think Dr. King said again, you got guided missiles and misguided men. So you look at the collective psychology of one's mentality of what is being produced. This misuse aggression, a lot of times, whether we know it or not as humans, a lot of times, even when we dealing with social comparisons, the people are not as healthy as they give themselves off to be. However, it makes no difference what your academic achievement are, really what you say you profess to believe in. Because we remember we're dealing with something that is very aggressive. When it comes to rage as a precursor toward violence, suffering in silence, then becomes what is called ends up in a crisis. And that could either strengthen you or weaken you. So what needs to be done? We have to deal with what is called problem-solving skills. Problem-solving skills. And, dealing with optimists and pessimists. There are answers there. It's just a matter of way of someone being in an environment that is conducive for them to be able to implement their problem-solving skills. One of the things that is written in what they call the English Bible and another religious text, where it says that even I think the Nation of Islam used it, when you don't bring in no weapons, that you can just control your tongue, control your emotions. It takes some discipline. It wants you to think before you react. So it is in the mind, the mind, the traumatic experience becomes a crisis. And, but when we kill each other, when we kill, one another, and I'm not necessarily saying physically, I'm really talking about one's humanity, because we all have emotions. It's just a matter of how we being able to manage those emotions, and I liken it to the maturation process. We all have the propensity to do harm to each other. We do. But, people have ideas, and their ideas may not are being heard, or the one who has the idea may want it to be received by a particular group of people and to offer some assistance, and then the ideas that they may have may not being received or not being heard or being supported. And then that individual or person is just being tested themselves, because the test is designed to see how you process information. So it is a process that one is going through to rid out any hostility or anger or rage that he or she may have in this culture or society in which he or she lives in. And so what I'm saying is that people undetectively really are playing a part, whether they know it or not, of creating a violent, hostile environment. Because people want their ideas, their agenda, and they want theirs to stand out above others. But a star may shine brighter than others, but a star is still a star. So then you have to deal with capacity and training, and deals with I liken it into having the tolerance. And some people can say certain things that may not line up to what you have come to learn to know, and they may say y'all but really don't mean y'all. They're specifically talking to you. Specifically having a conversation with you, and they may say you or y'all but don't mean that they're talking about you. So you have to process that and don't take it personal, of what the person is saying, and realize that they are just making a point, because remember that they are recovering, and their humanity has been damaged. There's a saying that I always say that we all are recovering because when moms or mother will give birth, she recovering, and we have to recover when we have that type of intimacy biologically. Man, that is, if I may use that language. But there's a teaching that says, maybe a Buddhist teaching or whatever, that anger is the punishment that you give yourself for somebody else's mistake. So we have to deal with looking beyond the biblical thing. Say, look beyond the fault and see the need. See the need. And I always say that the need is based on, the need is for spiritual guidance. So I have come up with something called the maturation process. And the maturation process consists of 5 components, or 5.5: understanding, tolerance, temperance, and confidence and respect. The services that I provide: root cause analysis, character resolve, conflict resolutions, and conciliatory healing and esteem building. So I approach everything 5 ways: progressive, universal, holistic, comprehensive, and conscientious. In the resolving 5 learning disabilities, feelings of inadequacy, alienation, grievances, discrepancies, indifference / differences. And in resolving these 5 learning disabilities, where individuals and families become more understanding of each other, and it equates to restoring social credibility. When we come to learn to know that our tolerance level and better in managing it, it equates to readdressing social diversity, wherein we become better control of our attitude, temperance / temperament, and revising social coherency, wherein we become display more confidence. And this is when we deal with the English version of Set and Haru, where Cain was losing this so-called, I don't get caught up in individuals, but it was losing his confidence. And sometimes we lose confidence in each other's being able to manage our feelings and our emotions, thoughts, our attitude, our language, and then therefore, the activity. But confidence in being effective communicators. So we have to work on and minimizing the balance as much as we can of misused aggression. Some, try to do it with, deal with it through maybe drinking, and some may intensify it through the drinking. Some may do it with alternative medicines, being able to manage the human emotion. I mean, because the body is made up of a chemical, and it's just like a chemical unbalance. But effective communication, diction skills, vocabulary skills, social skills, journaling skills, listening skills, business skills. To replenish the social continuity, the continuity. And then wherein we become more respectful of self as well as to others, equates to social solidarity. It's fine that I have the mandate is to the mission is to promote the value of self-worth, because the worth is in the degree, but it's not in the value. Each other's value is unlimited. There will be no need of low self-esteem if we hold each other in high esteem, and I think that is a major problem. Whereas when it comes to social comparison, there are what is considered to be, people who have went through the field of study and have acquired some formal education. But there are those who may not have the formal education, but they have quite an experience. They have something to contribute. So that's why I say it's in a degree. When talking about promoting the value of self-worth, is in a degree, but not in the value. The value is unlimited. So we have to see each other as offering unlimited value. And that is a contribution. And when that is a contribution, that means we are contributing to certain people call it unity, some people call it whatever you want to call it. We are contributors one to another when it comes to the social solidarity. Yes. And when the person feels as though that he is not valued and wants to be valued and wants to contribute, then he or she will, it more than likely, whether we want to accept it or not, we almost like open the door to fuel whatever anger and frustration and whatever crises or rage or traumatic experience that the individual may have had and may be having. And so we want to do our best to create a favorable environment that they will be able to process that. And I personally do it through self-introspection. Yes. I certainly do the self-introspection. So that could be taught too. But to communicate with a clear image to the world through 5.5 channels: understanding, tolerance / temperance, confidence, and respect. And the mandate is to cultivate the light of knowledge, or the potential of knowledge that is in us all. Potential to do the power that be. I'm still dealing with, when it comes to balance, balance. So 5 ways to administrate. How do we do this? It's to administrate, that's deal with dosage. Because people have psychological, we all have, some of us, I don't know, but we're dealing with certain types of withdrawals, physical or psychological, something that we need. And then also that wise, we're dealing with and social comparison when it comes balance. We're dealing with mental dejection and physical rejection. Social comparison, yes, and dealing with this misuse aggression. And people, the more it seems as though you can fight against it, the attacks seem to become more stronger. But it seems to be more stronger. But we want to minimize the strength of violence, aggression. But laws of physics say when someone attacks, and if you get there before that other person gets there, you lessen the impact. So yes, and what do I mean? You can, it's almost like you can do your best to try to diffuse whatever it is that is going on and what's happening when it comes to violence. Because if you can exact the same force that someone exact at you, they will proceed coming at you with caution. So we see that the first sign is a cautionary sign. Proceed with caution. Walk circumspectly. If you look at a cat, if you've never been any, it's like even a child, but it's that it walks circumspectly. If it never been there, it walks circumspectly. So we want to administrate, and people, it's like administrate the adequate attention that anyone needs. Because, when you're going up from a child to adolescence to adulthood, and you can have the basic necessities of food, clothing, shelter. There you may not be dealing with child abuse. Children are the extension of their parents' social relationships. But then the child may not get the mental and emotional attention that it needs. So neglected in that manner. So we're dealing with neglect. An accident is a result of neglect. Yes. So then we not only we administrate, we facilitate. And what are we doing? What we offer. I'm talking about root cause analysis, esteem building, character resolve, conflict resolution. But I primarily is conciliatory healing. Conciliatory, that which is done prior to reconciling one's differences. Yes. And the English Bible call it the ministry of reconciliation, to become a friend again to yourself. I remember I went to to hear Kane Hope Felder, brother Howard University, hear him talk about that at a Catholic gathering. And very powerful message. And by the way, may he be at peace. His soul be at peace. He really signed a document to help me to try to get into what is called Lincoln University. And thank him for that. Yes, but yes, didn't get in for the record, but he put his name on the line for me, man, and I thank him for that. It was just too far for me to really travel, so, and along with some other unforeseen things that transpired. Yes. And another brother that said I should go there, he made his transition. A young brother, forgot his name, real cool brother, I can't think of his name. Made his transition at a young age. May his soul be at rest too. But yeah, so we want to coordinate this conciliatory healing, coordinate it, because for me in it, leadership is coordination, how we coordinate each other's, the task, the time, the energy, the time, and the nature. So we coordinate it. But these are 5 ways now in which we're going about conciliatory healing when it comes to minimizing violence. This is the ways that we communicate, administrate the mandate, the motto, and the mission. And when it comes to services that is being offered, we facilitate, coordinate. Then we aggregate, and that this which brings everything together. Aggregate, yes. And then we perpetuate, which means it says, "Do me a favor, sure," which means creates a favorable outcome. And I want to show an image of this 5 ways in which we communicate, if I can, if you can see it. I think I need to show this. This is cool, the image wise, and then I can show this here. I think this is important there. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, and then we approach all the things I say: progressive, universally, holistic, comprehensively, and conscientiously. Now, these are keys to success. I do have written documents that of individuals that have written down personally of being under this understanding, under this teaching. So that's fine. Have too much nothing to prove. Yep. But yeah, so the 4 keys to success is the need meeting period, the issue resolving period, the problem solving spirit, and the question and answer period. Just period. The need meeting period is designed to address incentives and motive of intent. Yes. That we become properly motivated in motivation and environment. There was a saying about tests, IQ tests, what people call it. And motivation environment plays a part, I think people, whether they, not too much people can, maybe I can't say what people can't do about it, but it becomes a little personal when I said that. It was very emotional and that wise. I am a human being, of course. It's that, environment plays a part. I know me at times studying, and sometimes I'm in an environment where there's, disturbances, man. When you disturbances that could agitate you, man. When you're in disturbances where people are not going in the same direction that you're going, and their hours may be different from yours. They work hours or sleep, but it may be different for yours, and people become very inconsiderate of that, and then therefore, it could agitate you to a point that you are unable to process your rage, your anger, your emotion. You may not be able to process it properly, but one of the ways you can process it is just removing yourself from it as much as you can, and even the thought of what is transpiring. So, you can take a walk or whatever, but it's challenging. But if you are in an environment and in a mixed environment, that's why I'm really not for really. I understand the importance of readdressing social diversity, but man, if we're not going in the same direction, doing the same thing, and there is no respect for one another. Why would you want to be in an environment where that level of respect is not, it's not reciprocated? And why would you want to be in an environment where that you have to keep saying something over and over and over again, and people keep doing the same thing? That's like you're dealing with someone or anyone, not downplaying anyone or anybody, but we're dealing with balance and how we process with our human emotions and how we manage them. Is that someone has become mentally incapacitated, and that means that when a person is mentally incapacitated, he or she is unable to reason. Yes, yeah. So whatever you say, there's nothing resonating. Remember, there's nothing that is sinking in or resonating, because there are other things outside that is coming in, whatever it is, that toxins that anyone may be consuming. It's just not resonating because it is being, it's a dose that is being administered to that particular individual, more so than the serenity, the toxicity, rather than the serenity that is being administered. Yes, the issue resolving a period, because we want to become reacquainted with ourselves. So the issue resolving period, no one won't change if they don't see an issue with their actions. And that deals with one's determination, the intent again, to expand the image of one's worldview. A fish only grows as big as a tank in which it is in. Then the third key is the problem-solving skills. I said earlier about problem-solving skills, wisdom, self-advocacy, or what have you. But the problem-solving skills, the problem is not the problem. The problem is the attitude that we have about the problem. No one won't. The problem, not the problem, but the attitude that we have about the problem. Yes, the same level of consciousness that the created problem won't solve the problem. I think that was Einstein. So some would say a mindset, but we'll get into that after this. But to deal with environmental influences, we are born with dignity and nobility. I like that. I like that term there. But environment, and we have to deal with the vices, that prevents us from properly reasoning, as I said earlier, reasoning with progression and reasoning from the premises of conversation. And then we have to deal with the question and answer period that is designed to address one's directives by way of virtue, in the English Bible, I use that. But because I came through that thought, if I may use that. Every thought begins with a seed, but my thoughts are not limited to that. But there was a term frequently called parakesis. It is associated with parables, but it is designed to scripture, so-called scripture. It is an illustration that is designed to point you in the direction by way of virtue. Yes, by way of virtue. Yes. So that which needs to be redeemed is virtue, or non-virtue. When you have a virtuous behavior, but it's to point you to be virtue, direct you in a way by way of virtue. And it also, Muhammad said parables are given to check your nature. Yes, your nature. Because we're all born with the same consciousness and faculties. The difference is the amount and way in which we use it. Because if there is an enemy, it is an enemy. It is out being not unable to control our instincts. Yes, our instincts. So it makes no difference. I say it again, out of my emotion, if people accept it or not. It's evident. It's evident when it comes to violence. It is associated people unable to manage and control their instincts. Yes. So therefore, someone comes up and says that we should have a natural inclination and a urge, a natural inclination to what they call to worship something that is more powerful than us. Because obviously, if something has created us, if I may use that, and then you look at how humans behave because of they unable to control their urge and their instinct, that represents a form of inferiority. And when you have a form of inferiority, that means you become hostile. When you become hostile, that means you are unfriendly. It is an unfriendly behavior. Yes, yes, yes. So that's important there. Other than that, I just want to share that in that resolve. I realize this here is that the aim is for me is accountability. When you come into accountability, you have complete civility. And when you have complete civility, you should be at peace. Because when you have peace, that means that you are no threat to one another. It is to a point now that we are so hostile. We have so much animosity. The traumatic experience and the crisis that which we are under, man. And that which we take outside of our body to administrate and deal with the hurt, the pain, the rage, the frustration, the anxiety, and all those things. And then therefore we find a way to justify that, man. Let me tell you something, man. There is a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to our humanity, when it comes to the human experience, because the human experience is a fragile one. That which we think we know, we really don't know. Then we realize that there's more to be learned. So what is it? So it is ignorance then. It is ignorance. And what is ignorance? Ignorance is a result of hostility, as if we think there's nothing else to be learned because no one has a monopoly on intelligence. Humans rush into something and think that they know what they're talking about, what they know, when they find out that they really don't know. So if someone create a problem when it comes to violence, physical violence, whatever it is, you think about it. If problems are human made, then who can solve it? If you understand that, then you know what you really, that what you think you know and you really don't know, and what you display, that there is a form of inferiority. Yes. And then we deal with someone has a image complex. The complexity of one's mental capacity and one's human emotions when it comes to rage and when it comes to violence. Until next time. Talk to you. And by the way, as I think I did say that human relations is the way we connect, and human relationships is the actual connection itself. Reconnecting the disconnected common into a benevolent community, that we become practitioners of social maturity. Dialectical therapy by way of dialogue. As a result, you would have the application. Fill it out. You are qualified.